I've suffered depression most of my life, and various stages with different bouts of severity of how depressed I am. My last bout of depression was nearly 2 years ago. It was very sad. I was doing, my body was doing, but I really felt like a shell, like I was numb. I found doing daily tasks was an issue. I just found that everything became a chore, like even getting up to make my own cup of coffee. I would sit there on the couch and think for half an hour I could do with a cup of coffee, or especially dinner time, making dinner for the family. It could take me up to 2 hours just to do the dinner because it became such a chore. So your daily tasks, and I was isolating myself. I got to the point where I didn't want to go out. So even with going out with friends, I found really overwhelming. I found it really overwhelming when there were lots of people around. I was always looking for the exit door because I always found it so, so I became enclosed. I could have a 2-year break and then for some reason it just crept up behind me. Depression it's like it's sitting on my shoulder all the time. And it would just slowly creep up. And by the time I realised what was happening, it was too late. I was already on the spiral down. I knew that I would constantly have to work on my depression to be well. Like I knew that I had to exercise all the time. I knew that I had to eat properly. I knew I had to sleep properly. As much as I constantly tried, to keep doing exercise and trying to maintain myself so that I wouldn't end up in depression, that in the end it was so exhausting that the depression just took over. Yeah, it just took over. The feelings I was experiencing were, I felt very much alone, and it was like a hurt, or constantly on my chest, heavy shoulders. Everything just seemed so difficult. Such a small thing to do, like maybe hang out the washing, or spend time with the family, just became such a challenge for me. It was so heavy, it just became a chore. It's like when I found out my son was, I was having a grandson, I should say, when I found out my daughter was pregnant, I was pleased for her, but I couldn't find the excitement. And then when he was born as well, the other grandmother was jumping around up and down all excited, and I'm sitting there going, wow, she's over the top. But really, that's what most grandmothers do. But I saw the birth of my grandson as a chore, and trying to support my daughter in the first 6 weeks, I really struggled with that, really struggled with that. I did it, but I was very exhausted. I had a lot of other outside agencies helping me, but it wasn't enough. And it got to the point where my family just didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know what to do anymore. I tried everything over the months to become well and to step out of the depression, but it got so far that I actually didn't want to be here because it just became too difficult. I became so detached from my family and from my friends. And at the end, I just couldn't understand. I didn't know what to do. And it's the same as my family. They didn't know what to do. And part of me knew that I had to go into residential care to be able to step out of the, out of the depression. So we checked out the websites and, we found Capri Hospital. What struck me about Capri Hospital is the support structure they have after treatment, and that is what encouraged me to go to Capri. Going to treatment, it was very overwhelming for me, as well as my family. it was admitting that I was really bad and that whatever was outside couldn't help me anymore. I needed to go into residential care. Yeah, I was a bit stubborn when I came into Capri. Because I had all these other outside agencies that were helping me, I had the thought of, well, who does Capri think that they can fix me? You know, who can help me when everybody else can't? Why is Capri special, you know, for them to help me? So it took 23 days and I hung up my white flag, you know, and it's a bit hard to explain. It was like a turning point for me that I was ready to listen. I really feel that by coming into Capri, going into their routine, attending their meetings, you know, in the mornings, it was making me get out of bed. By as much as I didn't like getting out of bed that early, but it was part, you know, of the treatment. I didn't like the fact that I had to share a room, but I can understand now why we have to share a room, because it was about getting into routine and getting back into connection with people. And that is what was my stepping stone in becoming well, is because I had to communicate and I had to share. After the 23 days, I started really engaging into the program and I noticed a change in myself. My will became a bit lighter. And so I was here for another month and then I became ready for the outside world. When I left residential treatment back into my family life, my family were very happy to see that I was well. But I still very much needed support. And as I said in the beginning, you know, the reason I liked Capri is because of the support structure they have for when you are out of Capri. I came back 3 days a week to work the outpatient program. In the mornings you would have the mental health program, and then we would have the Hope Journal where we would read what our day was. That is the one thing I really found for my recovery that I had learnt at Capri was to write a journal and to put everything on paper as well as plan your day. And that has been a big thing for me in my recovery, is to plan my days. Because idle days are not good for me, and it is a habit now that I have learnt to do, and it's helped me in my wellness. You don't recover overnight. You know, like I've had depression nearly all my life, and it doesn't take just 2 weeks or 3 weeks to become well. You have to work the program after you leave Capri as well. It could take weeks, it can take months. I mean, we're all individual and some take longer than others. But I know for myself with my depression, I still have to work at it today. And I know that is something that I've had to accept, that for the rest of my life I have to work at it. Otherwise I end up back to where I was. And I don't want to go back to where I was. The tools that I have found most helpful for me is the Hope Journal and maintaining that, as well as the meditation and connecting with people, and as well as reaching out before it's too late. That is the biggest thing I have found and I've had to learn. And as well as your exercise and, you know, the other things that go with being well in depression. The big rewards for me from my recovery has been that I'm able to love my grandson. And it wasn't until I was in Capri, and it was about the 6th week, when I actually realised that, wow, I do love my grandson. I actually didn't realise how sick I was until somebody pointed it out to me, that, hey, you're showing emotions for your grandson. And that is the biggest reward for me today, is that I can spend that time with him and I can have emotions for him where I didn't have that before. And as well as with the family as well, I enjoy going out again and socialising again. And I've made lots of friends. We stay in contact with soundbite texting, and so I hear from friends every day in the texting. I come back twice a week, and it's so cool to be here on family nights and listen to people graduating or in recovery for a year or 2 years, and just walking the journey with them. Just being here is just so rewarding. Yeah.
Any advice for the people out there? If there's one thing I was going to say to somebody, so you start, if there's one thing I was going to say to somebody who's been where I am, or is where I am today. Where I was then.
Sure now?
No, not really. If there was, if there's one thing,
Okay.
Leave me with that.
Okay. If there's one thing I'd like to say to anyone who is not well and is looking for a residential, to become well, I've never regretted the day that I came to Capri. I looked at it as an investment in my life, and I tell you, it is the best investment I have ever made, because you can't put a price on your life. You can't put a price on being well or being alive. And I know from today, if I hadn't come to Capri, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So yeah, that is the best thing I ever did.